doesn't work this time. Oh, I really fucking hope that. Well, I probably just doomed the stream right there. Oops, my bad. But I got no sound. So frustrating. Hi. It's just so frustrating. I don't want to get into talking about something until I know that we've got audio. You guys hear me? Yay. It just sucks, man. It really does suck when you have a technical issue like that because it just kills the energy. Literally. It just kills all the energy. The energy I had earlier is just utterly gone, and I'm irritated. And I said fuck like a minute into the stream, so the stream's probably doomed anyway. Whoa, audio's back. Yep. You know what I had to do? I had to literally clear YouTube storage off my phone, clear the cache, delete junk files, and do some other shit. And now, maybe it'll work for 5 minutes. I don't even know what could possibly be happening to make that happen. Oh, it's annoying. Oh. Tragically annoying. I repeat you. You sure do sound like a male trying to imitate a female. Well, I was born assigned male at birth, so I'm sure that growing up, like, you know, having more testosterone flowing through my body than estrogen probably contributed somewhat to the development of my voice. Can you read a Bible verse for me? Thanks for asking. No. I've worked in IT for a decade and I can barely open the YouTube app. Yeah, I mean it's a dysfunctional app. Whether you're a YouTube creator or someone who watches YouTube, it is a highly dysfunctional app. Like you can't watch vertical live streams with your phone clicked off, which means that there's an entire type of demographic that is pretty much excluded from shorts content that does not watch my streams while they're live because to do so means to run down their battery's charge and heat up their phone because they can't just click the screen off. It limits the demographics that my content can appeal to. Why would YouTube not just fix that? Like, why? What incentive do they possibly have for making it a screen-only experience? They have none. It's just incompetence. Baseline incompetence. Nice, the audio works. Yep. It required basically an act of Congress and God all at once at the same time, but it finally works. Anyway, make sure you guys hit that like button. Once we get over 100 people in here, we'll start talking about something of substance. We've got a number of things that we can talk about. The two things I put in the title were Trump putting his name on currently issued currency. Well, obviously, it's not currently issued. I'm just saying he's going to be president while it's being minted and issued, which is interesting. Hasn't happened. Very long break of tradition. And there are actually U.S. laws against it. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I have no doubt that there are going to be court cases levied against this. I don't know who would be in that position. I guess maybe any random American citizen could probably make a compelling argument that they have a case, but I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. So I do know that there are U.S. laws against having sitting presidents or living former presidents on U.S. currency, which seems to me like it's a ripe opportunity for a lawsuit. But a lot of these lawsuits, I mean, they tend to go, both ways. They don't have a tendency, in other words. Like every so often, they break from Trump. Usually they side with him on certain things, but there's no pattern to be discerned here, is what I'm trying to get to you. What bill or coin is Trump trying to be on? Dollar bills, apparently. According to the CNN article I was reading, which granted I didn't read any other articles about it, so maybe some of them have more specific information, but the way it was written very much leads me to believe he's going to be putting his signature on like regular old US dollar bills. So I'm by the way, if you're wondering if you're like a MAGA out there and you're thinking I've got TDS, I don't care that much. I think that this is probably one of the less egregious things that he's tried to do, like in a vacuum. Obviously, like him putting his name on fucking currency is not going to make that much of a difference in anyone's life. It's really the tendency that it represents that's at issue. And that tendency is one that I oppose both when Trump does it and when it's done overall. Our culture has a general overall problem with hero worship. We're just getting to the point now where we are increasingly more willing to venerate living political figures to that degree. A streaming from Phoebe, and Ari is here. Trump hate? I mean, you can say it's Trump hate. I just think it's tacky and authoritarian for a world leader of a fucking fully developed country to be putting his name on official currency of that government. Like, for what reason? For what reason? Like, if he was creating some new denomination, I could see it, maybe, possibly. You could try and make an argument, I guess, but he's just trying to put his name out there. It's literally tacky authoritarian bullshit that, and because it's tacky, it doesn't hit as hard as a lot of the other stuff that authoritarians do. But I oppose Kim Jong-un when he puts his image on a Korean dollar bill, and I also oppose Donald Trump when he puts his signature on a US dollar bill. I don't know why this concept is hard for MAGAs to grasp. Very simple. My politics are consistent. You're the one who's lacking. Hey, Phoebe, I need you to run for a local office position. No. I would have no chance. I live in Mississippi, and I don't live in a particularly blue region in Mississippi either. I mean, I guess maybe it's more blue than some other areas of the state, but it's not exactly what you'd call a strong Democratic stronghold. I don't even not like Trump. I think it's flashy and weird, and there's way more shit he should be focused on. That's another element of it. Why is the president focused on getting his name on federal buildings and reshaping the White House to put it more according to his whims and putting his name on dollar bills, and less concerned with prosecuting this illegal war in Iran that he's supposedly so concerned about, negotiating a peace deal with the country that he's supposedly trying to get out of the war with? Why is he not working on rebuilding America's crumbling infrastructure? You can't go a week without reading about some crash that could have easily been solved by less car dependency and better designed infrastructure. There are literally hundreds of things any American politician right now could be focused on. But this goes to show you what is the real focus at the highest level of like the highest levels of our government. What do they care about? Meaningless garbage for the most part. Meaningless garbage and evil shit. You could focus on yourself, you don't know shit. Well, I wish you would explain how instead of just saying I don't know shit, but unfortunately people like you never do that. Trump's priority, make Israel great again, literally Greater Israel Project. Exactly. There's also obviously billionaire interests wrapped up in all of this. There was analogy I was thinking about earlier. What was it? It was what was the analogy? Oh, yes. It so the situation when it comes to like Israel, it reminds me of when Gandalf is taking, I know this sounds super nerdy, but it reminds me of when Gandalf is taking the fellowship through the mountains of Moria, and he warns them at one point to stay vigilant because there are older and fouler things than orcs in the dark reaches of the world. And I feel like you can also use that as a metaphor for the situation with Israel and the interests of globalized billionaires. There are older and darker evils than Israel. There are lots of people alive who are older than the state of Israel to this day. There's still lots of pensioners who remember a life, very briefly, but remember a little bit of a life before Israel existed. Think about that shit for a second. There are people alive right now that are like 86 who were alive for 8 years before Israel was ever a thing. The interests that created Israel never went away, and their interests never changed. They still want access to the mineral wealth underneath the soil of the Middle East, and they still want access to the oil rights. Think about what restroom to use. That is the idea, right? Get people less focused on the economy or war or the evils of their government and more focused on what bathroom is somebody going in. Don't get focused on the economy. Get focused on, are there girls playing in boys' sports? Are there boys playing in girls' sports? Don't worry about your sons and daughters, husbands and wives getting sent off to die in a foreign war that you didn't have anything to do with. No, worry about gay people. Oh my god, they're fucking. Can you believe it? Alright, be right back. Super chat, people. Germans are distant us, flowers on the spring, sing the idols now. Bro's taking a massive dump right now? No. Good guess, though. Skilled guess, but no. No. I have no LGBT family members who all came out straight. Meanwhile, my friend's family full of LGBT or closeted people. I don't know if that necessarily proves the genetic origin of queerness, but yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be the only person I've known, like, with a story like that, you know, with an example in their life. Well, I agree that it's not choice. We agree there. Alrighty. Well, me and my big Irish socks are going to bed. Well, hey, Robbie, I'm sorry I didn't catch you until the end. Well, not the end, but your end. I hope you have a good night. But to all the rest of you, so what do we think about Trump putting his signature on dollar bills? I think it's tacky and authoritarian by virtue of that being such a hallmark of the way people who want to see themselves as the god, emperor, king of a giant empire try to present themselves. But I don't actually think it's like, I mean, it's a damn far sight from the worst thing he's done. I feel like, honestly, once again, the worst thing about it is the tendency that it represents, not the action itself. I think anything Trump does, he will get upset. Not true. I applauded his efforts to try and force the DEA to hurry up with rescheduling weed. The DEA or the FDA or whichever one of our alphabet agencies it is that has to reschedule that shit. He signed an executive order, basically like prodding them along, which is honestly probably the most that he as a president can do besides like firing the people at the top of those administrations and putting in new people. But he probably, like a dumbass, put in people that oppose cannabis legalization because he doesn't realize what a strange thing he is. I don't even think a lot of Republicans get what a strange thing Trump is. Trump doesn't actually give a shit about gay people. That's just something he brings out. It's called red meat for the base. Trump doesn't give a fuck about gay people. Trump loudly brags to everyone who will listen about how many gay people vote for him and about how he loves the gays, and he'll even joke about it. Trump's got no problem with gay people. So he's an oddity among Republicans in that way. Trump's got no problem with weed and alcohol, even though he himself is a teetotaler. And he's an odd duck amongst Republicans for that reason. Man, I'm really going to have to touch the poop myself this time, and you hate to do it to him, but I really hate having to touch the poop myself. Trump also famously does not like guns, so Trump has been way more gung-ho about gun legislation than even a lot of Democrats have been, ironically. Because for the longest time under Obama's admin, you guys remember the fear-mongering about how Obama's going to go door-to-door and take your guns? How ironic is it that never ended up happening? That was never even in the cards of happening. But we did end up seeing people going door to door just a couple months ago in Minneapolis looking for random brown people to lock up for no reason other than, oh, you were fucking brown at the wrong time in America. Sorry. We now have to send you away for a detention center for 6 weeks so we can verify that you are, in fact, human enough to remain in America. Hello, welcome, greetings. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. Let's get up to 30 likes. By the way, we are only $75 away from our dono goal, the last one remaining for this week, which is a watch-along, a watch party, essentially. We'll pause it every like 20 minutes or so. We're going to be watching The Power of Nightmares by Adam Curtis. Me and you and everyone else interested. But you're $75 away from that. No, actually, you know what? I forgot about this. We got two $2 donos on the stream that didn't work. And then, so I think we might actually be down to 70. We're only 70 away. I had to do some quick math. My bad. Sucks legal citizens have to suffer because of illegals? In what way do legal citizens suffer because of illegals? $68 away? I'll take your number over my own. You've probably been paying closer attention. God bless Trump for the great work regarding the border. I find it hilarious that you say that because right now Trump is experiencing widespread dissent within his own party about how he's handling immigration. Interesting that. Blaming everybody but the people causing the suffering, which is ICE. Yep. Blame the immigrants, blame the black people, blame the gay people, blame the Dems, blame anybody you have to, but the Gestapo thugs roaming America's streets looking for random black people to arrest for no reason. Random Mexican people to arrest for no reason. Random Somalis to arrest for no reason. You can't even spell the word dissent. I used a word and you don't know how it's spelled. You think that all uses of the word dissent are spelled the same. You don't understand that there are two words that sound exactly the same. These are homophones. Dissent in the which I used it is spelled D-I-S-S-E-N-T. Just letting you know. If you want your question answered so bad, fucking send it in a super chat. I hate to remind you guys about this, but this is a stream and it's monetized, which means that there are options available to those of you who really want something answered. If you're too broke or too cheap to pay for it, that's not really my problem. I mean, I do feel for you if you're too broke to pay for it, because it sucks that all of us are pretty much broke as fuck these days. Like, that sucks, and I feel for you. But if that's your excuse for why you can't ask this, like, edgy, shit-stirring question in my chat, I'm not exactly compelled. Illegals still buy food, rent property, have car payments, and otherwise contribute to the economy. These idiots can't think a single thing through. No, it's literally they're incapable of thinking a single thing through in some cases, but in a lot of cases, it's willful ignorance. They make up bald-faced lies that they know to be false and spread it around as if it's truth. Because in their mind, in the minds of a lot of captured American voters, especially on the right, the real game is not what are the actual challenges facing humanity and how do we overcome them. The real game is what is the biggest fear you can stir up? How scared can you get people? How terrified can you make them? How do millions of third worlders make our country better? What makes us better than third worlders? You ever been to the American South? The third world lives in your backyard, bitch. I live in the deep South. Don't come to me about the third world. I know 7 different people who've moved down here from civilized places in this country. Every single one of them says the same goddamn thing. Holy shit, Phoebes. It's like legit living in a third world country. Like what I've always imagined living in a third world country would be like, this is it. The only difference is that people speak English and that like my money works down here. Like the money looks the same. The language, the words are the same, but sure as hell doesn't sound the same. The roads are disgusting and horrible. They're way too small. They're way too narrow. The bridges are outdated and falling apart. There's like gravel roads connecting whole city blocks like it's 1840. There are people living in old decrepit shacks, basically just camper shells that they've set up on fucking concrete blocks, 7 different tarps on the roof because they keep on expiring and being exposed to the weather, and they got to constantly shore up those leaks. The type of depraved poverty that is allowed to exist in the Deep South would make the average Indonesian quake in fear. Because at least poor people in Indonesia usually have access to some kind of work. Poor people down here just starve slowly over the course of years, succumb to deaths of poverty, deaths of despair. You really believe that? I know it. I don't believe it. I can demonstrate it to you. Maybe I will one of these days. I really do. One of these days, after I've moved away from this area, I want to do a documentary on it and talk about how it got to be so bad. Because there was a time where progress was being pursued. But at some point that stopped. And it's never been the case throughout my lifetime. And it seems like the only development that does happen is the occasional like commercial development. Another $5 from Margo to Hell. When I was young, my neighbor's house exploded because it was a meth lab. Mississippi's a hellscape. Yeah, literally. Mississippi is a third world hellscape. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let them try to convince you otherwise. Florida is a third world hellscape. Florida is basically just, I don't know. It's like, well, I hate to keep using the Indonesia example. So it's like the Philippines, but worse. It's like the Philippines, but worse because there's not even like an active effort to do anything down there. It's just like, well, I guess we're going to start insuring the houses ourselves because we keep getting on hit by these hurricanes and, you know, there's nothing else we can do about it. Private insurance companies don't want nothing to do with our dumbasses no more because we won't quit building right in the path of major hurricanes. What's ridiculous is that Floridians keep building in that fucking floodplain known as Florida. Most of Florida is functionally underwater already. There are big chunks of Florida that are already functionally underwater. They're kept dry only by complex systems of canals and pumps. By the way, with Margot's $5 and the 10 pounds we just got from Xena, we are now down to 68, 58, 48. I believe we're down to $48 in terms of our dono goals. So that is awesome. Thank you guys for donating so far. Thank you, Xena. A reminder that you apparently don't have a real job that pays. Strange that. Anyway, contribution and extra incentive to play. I was not a MAGA polka. Every single Roroid dances to the strain of the I was not a MAGA polka. Everybody all at once, all without exception, sing the I was not a MAGA polka. We did not like Trump, we thought he was a tool, sing the I was not a MAGA polka. We even hated Elon to sing the. We even hated Elon to sing the I was not a MAGA polka. I can't play it because I don't know all the words to the original song yet, and I haven't written my rewrite yet. But Xena, I am getting on it, and I appreciate it a ton. It is further incentive to write it. The rage bait is unreal. What you call rage bait, I call compelling content that made you click. Are you a Reddit moderator? No, I've actually got negative karma on Reddit. Hypothetically, what if you weren't alone? How do you know I'm alone? What if I've got a giant audience of people sitting around watching and you just can't see them? Not only that, I do have 76 people watching right now, 82 people watching now. Could we get it up to 100? Let's see. But ultimately, there are quite a few people here basically surrounding me. I mean, I look at this as like a big smoke circle. You guys might look at it differently, but that's a failure on your part. I look at this as an opportunity for people of diverse political backgrounds to come together over some drink, some weed, or just some chill, or sometimes quite aggravated conversation to talk about what we really believe in an unfettered way, even if that gets a little insulting and degrading sometimes. Which is why when someone insults me in this chat, I just insult them back. One of them, Smiths, $5. Thank you so much. If I push you to dono goal, will you listen to one song I suggest at some point? Aww. Have you suggested a ton of songs and I've just like blown you off? Yes, I will. You'll yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I will. That's yeah, I can promise that. That's easy. I can do that. But that does get us $5 closer. By the way, anybody interested in donating should consider donating through Cash App. That's down below. YouTube doesn't take the 1/3 fee, and obviously I can use it instantly. So it's another way you can donate if you are interested. I forget to plug it, so I like to mention it sometimes. I'm at my home and weed isn't legal here. Oh, that does suck. I admit, that does suck. Not till mine gets listened to. Oh no! There's a queue. There's a queue. I did listen to a few of the ones you sent me. I listened to the Kate Bush song. What was it called? I keep wanting to call it War Pigs, but I know that's not right. Dream Soldier, something like that. It popped up in my recommended today, and I listened to it again, but I've already forgotten the name because I'm a bad friend. Do you listen to Chief Keef? I'm not opposed to Chief Keef. Not exactly my favorite rapper to throw on and listen to. That title is always going to belong to Tupac, but I also don't have the most expansive hip-hop tastes out there, though. I'm not like a major like hip-hop head. Shit. The artist is Damaged. The song is God's Image. I think all the chat should go look it up. Thank you so much for the 16 stars and going, Alyssa. Thank you. And thank you a ton for, yes, as far as I know, all the way to the dono goal, which is $50. One of them, Smiths. Holy shit. Or with your $50. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. That is a tremendous help. I will of course have to keep plugging, but I guess I'm gonna have to find other goals to offer you guys now, or I'll just have to flaunt my good looks or something. But no, I appreciate that a ton. The artist is Damage. The song is God's Image. God's Image by Damage with a 3 at the end. God's Image, Damage, 3 at the end. God's Image, Damage, 3 at the end. Okay, I can remember that. Thank you a ton. And with that, we have reached our dono goal, which means so probably tomorrow night we'll be doing a 2-hour long call-in show followed by 2 hours worth of really bad, terrible food that I find on Reddit probably midday tomorrow. I want to keep the supply fresh. I'm only going to watch 5 seconds of any clip I come in contact with so I can be fully prepared to give you my honest take. Is this horrible enough that even I would reject it from my trough? Or is this a meal that this piggy would gladly slop up? You guys will get to see the best of that, as well as, probably Saturday or Sunday, we'll do a watch-along of The Power of Nightmares by Adam Curtis. Since it's free on YouTube, I think I can get away with restreaming it on this channel. But we'll be pausing every 20 minutes or so and talking about it a little bit. It's probably going to take a long-ass time. It's a long documentary. If you want to sit around for it, that's cool. But know that it's going to be like 6 hours long. Why are there so many abusive comments allowed in this chat? Because, like, ultimately, we are trying to encourage an environment where people have, like, tense political conversations and, like, hammer out their viewpoints. I think we do try to get, like, most of the, like, truly egregious stuff, you know? Like, usually when someone starts JQ posting, it's not long until they're going to get banned. But generally, we try to just ban for, like, spam and, you know, people trying to say, like, horribly abusive slurs. Like, there's certain things that if you don't ban out of your chat, YouTube will get onto you. So. What do you think of Tori Amos? Hello, Mr. Zebra. Have you any sweaters? 'Cause it's cold, cold, and my ho. Ratatouille strychnine. Sometimes she's a friend of mine. I like Tori Amos. Can't sing her songs because I don't have a good falsetto anymore, but I like Tori Amos. Of course, yes, Taylor, I remember it because of you. And it still pops into my head, obviously, from time to time enough for me to still remember it. I still listen to Nicole by Hotel Books. I still re-listen to that piece of poetry that you shared with me, How to Ruin Your Life and End Friendships or something like that. I forget who wrote it, but I have it in one of my playlists, and I'll go back to that and listen to it so often. I don't know if you realize what an effect you had on my life. Like, just because we were friends for so long and we shared so much with each other, we made so many memories together, like, I don't know, there's lots of my interests that in some way or another I can tie back to a conversation we had or a memory we made or something. I'll tell you this much, the only reason I like going to bowling alleys is because you took me bowling that one time. Literally. You are the person who taught me that going out on the town could be fun. I wish you the very best. Congratulations on your channel. You are beautiful. Aw, thank you, Dorian Gray. Well, you should stay. That sounds like a parting message. I don't like that. That sounds like you're about to unsubscribe or something. Come on now. You can't do that. I don't know if you're much of a Lord of the Rings fan, but not only are we getting a Gollum movie, but they plan to make another Lord of the Rings movie. They need to quit it. They need to quit it. They are not going to recapture that magic. They are not going to make something satisfactory. They will cut corners. It will be a cash grab. They need to quit it. I'm not even kidding. I'm sick of them. I don't want to see another Lord of the Rings thing committed to screen until it's been like 100 years and we get some like new Hollywood or some new like indie filmmaking scene. Maybe it doesn't need to be 100 years from now, but it's going to be like another 10 years before I'm going to even be desirous. Because like so far, pretty much everything that's been made has involved the same circle of people. And it's become pretty clear at this point that the studios with which they work are unwilling to allow them to even try. Like, you know why Lord of the Rings is such a magical trilogy of movies? Because they didn't cut corners. because it's full of really convincing practical effects throughout. There's a little bit of movie magic in there with CGI and shit, but it's very, very, very sparse. And a lot of it's used for scenes where it is very hard to notice that it's even being used, like battle scenes and stuff where you've got big mass movements of troops going on. But pretty much everything you see where it's close enough to see someone's face, that's a real person on a real set that was actually built. Something like 75% of the footage in The Hobbit was not shot on location. It was shot in a sound studio somewhere. And that's why The Hobbit feels so empty and hollow, especially when you compare it to its vastly superior older brother, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You watch Lord of the Rings trilogy, you are watching the height, and I genuinely believe this, you are watching the height of American fantasy filmmaking. I do not think, I don't think that the Hollywood that created those movies does not exist anymore, near as I can tell. And the indie filmmakers don't get enough money to make something of that scale. I guess I don't have a single Brit watching right now because nobody got triggered by my little slip up. Whatever. I would still defend Lord of the Rings as a work of American filmmaking because Peter Jackson, he may be British by nationality, but he's American by filmmaker, like by artistry. I don't know how else to put it. He doesn't make British movies, he makes American movies. Come on now. If you ask Peter Jackson who influenced him as a director, he doesn't list off a fucking giant cadre of fucking British guys. It's all American directors. Are you ashamed to go out in public? Nope, I do it all the time. I do it indeed all the time. Man, I can't believe we hit all the stream dono goals. That is so cool. Make British film great again? Yes, I agree. I'm not saying that there aren't great British movies. I don't know if I could quote any off the top of my head to you, but I'm sure they're out there. But, you know, Lord of the Rings ain't one of them. Shit was shot in New Zealand by a fucking British director who was heavily inspired by American filmmakers with a giant cadre of people from all over the fucking world. Vance 2028 so we can kick his ass back to the hellhole known as Ohio. Are you saying that Vance would be so unpopular a candidate that picking him for the for the primary would actually ensure that he would lose? I don't know. I feel like the best recipe for the political irrelevancy of J.D. Vance is for Trump's term to expire. J.D. Vance has absolutely no staying power. I'm telling you this now. J.D. Vance has absolutely no staying power. MAGA, level with me. No, come on. Brandon, you know J.D. Vance is he's a country mile from a Trump. You know he's a damn far sight from a Trump. Come on now. Out of all the dudes in the modern Republican Party, Vance, level with me here. Vance, the guy who was calling Trump Hitler as recently as 4 years ago, that guy's going to be the new leader of the MAGA movement? No, he's not. It'll be Marco Rubio. It'll be Stephen Miller. It'll be it'll be one of these other dudes. It'll be Pete Hegseth maybe. But it's not going to be Vance. Let's just elect Alex Jones. Not crazy enough. Not crazy enough. And, sorry. Not only that, but Alex Jones in the modern day is a Republican shill. Back in the day, Alex Jones was cool because he criticized both parties. Nowadays, he's just a shill for the Republicans. He wipes Trump's ass everywhere it leaves a smudge. Better than anyone to come out of the Democratic Party anytime soon. Interesting that you say that, because Zoran Mamdani was elected in New York City as a Democratic Socialist running for the Democratic ticket, and after since he was inaugurated or whatever, he has introduced already a slew of fixes and initiatives to make life better in the cities. So I don't know. It seems to me like the Democratic Party has some promising candidates. It's got some very uncompelling leadership, I'll grant you that. And national level candidates, forget about it. Nobody that's come out of the Democratic Party in the last 20 years has been really a compelling national candidate, with the exception of Barack Obama. Barack was Obama was an interesting candidate because of a number of reasons, but he was not a conventional Democrat. He was not like a Clinton era Democrat. I mean, he was, but he didn't sell himself as one. But pretty much everybody since then has sold themselves as a Clinton era Democrat, or maybe an Obama era Democrat, which now everybody understands to just be a Clinton era Dem, but they're nicer to gay people. And that's not compelling. People know at this point that we need more than just base neoliberalism. We need more than some lib that's just going to keep, sending jobs overseas, that's just going to keep wages stagnant, that's just going to keep the cost of living growing ever higher without ever offering any substantive solutions that would address it or give people alternatives or anything. People know we need better than milquetoast non-solutions at this point. Therefore, these weak, moderate Dems that are all trying to run for national office are completely uncompelling as candidates. Barack like Obama. Sorry. Hassalam Obama. They're the extreme center. Yep, you win. You win. You win. You win. You win. I don't even know if you've been agreeing or disagreeing with me, but you win. Yep, they are the extreme center. Yeah, dude. Yes, that is the perfect way to describe the moderate Dems. I love it. They're the extreme center. They've got the affect of radicals, but they've got the policies of your grandma. That's actually a discredit to grandmas. Honestly, do you guys realize that among old people that are progressive, it's actually way more common for them to be the educated type of progressive that knows why they support the things they know? And that actually there are a lot more progressive old people than you would realize, than you would think. It's just that same voter disenfranchisement, like the longer that sets in, the more people are just discouraged and shit like that. So it's just an interesting thing to consider. Like tons and tons of old people voted for Biden. Tons and tons of old people voted for Kamala Harris in 2024. So this myth of the old, like universally everybody who's old is going to be conservative, is pretty funny. I don't remember how we got on this tangent though. I don't remember where I was going. I worked with a hella based lady in a restaurant. Yeah, dude, the most based motherfucker I've ever had a person to person conversation with was a 99-year-old avowed socialist. I was busking in a Walmart parking lot near Aurora, Missouri, and this dude just pulled up basically in the grassy verge where I was busking. And after we talked for like 5 minutes, I was like, "Aren't you worried about Walmart? And like, what? Aren't they gonna say something?" He's like, "Fuck them. What are they gonna do? Call the cops? Yeah, take them another 15 minutes to get here anyway, and by that time I'll be gone." And I was like, "All right, well, I guess I can't argue with that logic." And he was like, I'll go if you think it's gonna bring you trouble, though." And I was like, "No, no, I'm not worried about it. I mean, because he'd already given me a pretty big donation. I was like, I mean, honestly, I could pack up right now and be fine." And he was like, "Well, good. I hope that helps you." But we had a really good conversation. He disapproved of my smoking, but not in a judgmental way, but just in a disappointed granddad kind of way. Not in a like morally. There was no like judgment or anything to his voice. He was just like, "Oh," he was like, he basically said something to the tune of, "You're so smart, but you're not smart enough to realize that you're being scammed by these tobacco companies into ingesting something that hurts you and costs a ton to maintain." And I was like, "I know, you're right. It's a stupid thing, and I've tried to quit, and it's like I'll pick it back up by accident." And he did tell me, he was like, "You got to have stronger will than that. You can't change anything in the world unless you've got a strong enough will to do it." And then, I talked about how, like, oh, there's people with vices that do stuff, though. And he was like, "Well, he was like, oh, of course there are." And it was interesting because it was like, there was no judgment there. It was just like he was trying to give me like a grandfatherly pep talk. It was nice. But yeah, that dude was incredibly based, was talking all about how, like, he was talking about how the reason why I pulled up was because he liked the slogan I had on my guitar. And he was like, "The history of that, right?" And I recited what I knew about it, and he was like, "Good, good. I'm glad you know. There's some people just saw it on somebody else's guitar. They do it. They think it looks cool. They don't really know what it means. But I'm glad you." And it just started this whole conversation about leftist history and the socialist movement in America, um, and how ineffective Biden is as a president, and how much Bernie would have been cool to see. And that dude was 99 years old. And that was in 2022, 2023, something like that. So, square that circle. Dude was born in 1923, lived through the Great Depression as an adult. Like, lived through the Great Depression as an adult. That is fucked. That is a crazy thing to think about. And I feel privileged having had a conversation with somebody that was that old and that was that aware and everything. And I remember asking him about it, and talking about how hard it was, but how useful it was if you had the right mindset and you knew who the enemies were. That's what enabled FDR to get so much done, was the condition of the people had been allowed to get so bad that there was widespread poverty, widespread dissatisfaction, and cynicism had given way to, we have to do something about this. Really good conversations that we had. Looking good today. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Lived through the FDR administration. He knows what's up. He lived through the FDR administration. He lived through Harry S. Truman's. Lived through Eisenhower. I mean, think about how many different like by the time, let's see, born 1923, 33, 43, 53. So by the time we were deposing Mohammed Mossadegh, he was older than I am now. That dude was older than I am now when we were deposing Mohammed Mossadegh. I mean, you're talking about a compendium of knowledge. I wish I would have befriended that dude or something. I'm sure he's gone now. I can't imagine I mean, he seemed like he was in really good health, and he told me, he doesn't have a walker or wheelchair or anything, and he still does. He said he walks a mile every day in hopes that it'll keep him going for as long as possible. And I guess as long as you can do it, it's a good thing to try for. Make mental what now? Make mental institutions great again? This one's just weak. You guys are going to have to come up with a better slogan to insult all people online with, because that one's just it's tired, it's boring, it's rote. It's everything I don't want to see in a troll comment. The Great Depression did not end in 1939. I mean, it might have been over, like, in some ways by 1939. But the poverty of the people pretty much continued until around, like, 1946 or so. It was pretty much when people started returning from the war, and when all the factories that had been opened up for wartime production started switching over to domestic production, and like the workers' rights that had been fought for throughout the 30s and the New Deal programs that had been implemented started to have their effect. That's when you started to see all these changes take place. Like, just because the economy started looking better in 1939 doesn't mean that people suddenly had money to spend. These men don't even try to look like women. Max trolling. I'm sorry I'm not trying hard enough for you. If I was literally dressed up to the nines and I had like a bunch of stuff on to make me look super feminine, you'd just be saying I was trying too hard. You're unpleasable. And that's not my problem, actually. I'm neither your doctor nor a magical wizard, so this is not something of which I can cure you. Did you watch Nick Shirley on CPAC? Nope. Sure didn't. I love the South. I asked my boss for a mental health day, and she said no. Apparently, I'm not a team player despite being the glue that runs it all. Oh my god, that's horrible, Kenny. I'm so sorry to hear that. That sucks. That is literally like one of the most important fucking things that a job can offer you as like an outside benefit. It's not required by a lot of places to offer specific mental health days, but it is so fucking useful if you know that it's okay. Like, if you are not able to deal with it. Like, places that allow people to take mental health days are way less likely to see employees just freaking out and flipping out over nothing, right? It's basic common sense. Do you work a job? Depends on who you ask. If you ask the IRS and the fucking, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, then yes. If you ask the chuds in my chat, then no. Yeah, you shouldn't have to even disclose your reason for not coming in. It should literally just be as simple as like, hey, sorry, I can't come in today. It is on the business to make sure that there's enough redundancy worked into their programs and their everyday running that the entire operation doesn't fall the fuck apart because one person called out. Why not encourage our youth to be proud of themselves and happy in their own skin rather than encouraging them to be something else altogether? I don't think anyone's trying to like encourage kids that aren't trans to be trans. All that's meant to happen with teaching kids about trans people and like how they might know if they are trans, that is meant to do is to give people words to describe the experiences that a very small group of people have, but that they might someday meet somebody. Like, you're way more likely to ever meet a trans person than to be trans, obviously. Um, because, you only get to be a person once, whereas you get to meet all kinds of people throughout your life. So the chance that any given person being taught this information is trans is obviously very low. But by teaching them that that is an option, that it's okay, you like normalize the idea that should be normalized, which is that trans people are everyday people, human beings just like you, with thoughts, feelings, opinions, and a gender identity that is legitimate. W making the chat open. I leave the chat open until the chuds become too much to deal with. As long as the chuds stay relatively calm, you know, slow mode stays off, sub mode stays off. It just depends on the chud quotient, frankly. Chud quotient's been low lately. You trying to play Lego Star Wars the complete collection for the Nintendo with me or what? Not really, no. I bought a vape. It's a solder reflow station. It heats up his base. What? Too complex for me. Thanks. I like these because I just go and vape happens. All I have to do is and vape happens. I think mental health stuff important, but I think we should still empathize with people that empathize that people still need to put work and effort into fixing the problems. You still need the time of others to fix them. Well, yeah, it's a complicated relationship. If we're talking about mental health issues in general, yeah, like obviously there are things that you should do to mitigate the effects that your mental illness has in your life, but the best ways to mitigate those sometimes do involve things that are going to involve other people. Like if you've got there are a wide variety of mental disorders that can be severe enough to require medication. Obviously, you can't just therapy your way out of that. But there are coping mechanisms for most mental illnesses that help to make them easier to deal with. Just like there are coping mechanisms for like a lot of disabilities to make those easier to deal with. There are things you can learn, efforts you can take. Letting people be trans is encouraging them to be themselves and happy in their own skin. Literally. It's encouraging them to alter their body to the point where they are happy with it and to live authentically. What problem could you possibly have with that? It's all Freudian nonsense. I'm into Freud, so I win the argument because I'm smart. That's how you sound right now. Instead of bringing up a point or a cogent refutation, you just threw a name out there as if Freud's ghost was going to make your argument for you. Well, I'm sorry. I don't hear the whispers of old Sigmund in my ears. You're going to have to translate for me. Pretty clever, wasn't it? What are you trying to do? Get the ghost of Sigmund Freud to make your argument for you? So authentic they need surgery and drugs to be themselves? Why don't you say that about the MAGA women that surround Donald Trump and feel the need to get all kinds of Botox put in their faces? Why is it okay for everyone who surrounds Trump to fundamentally alter their physical appearance with drugs and Botox and plastic surgery? Why is that okay? But transgender people, no, awful, horrible. I guess it's only bad when trans people do it, right? No, you don't care when some woman gets when some cis woman gets like a titty job or like a cheek lift or a Brazilian butt job or something. Like you don't care about any of these procedures. You just care when a trans person gets elective surgery. Why? Because you're bigoted against trans people. It's not because you care fundamentally about people not being able to feel themselves. It's not because you actually see some moral weight in this. It's because you're bigoted against trans people for whatever internal reason. Like I said before, I'm not your doctor or a magical wizard. It's something I can neither diagnose nor cure. But it's an ailment under which you are suffering that you could cure yourself of pretty easily. Hot take. We need to start treating random talk of mental health like a Nazi dog whistle. Because if the more I think about it, the more it seems like people just use mental health, those two words as a cudgel, a rhetorical cudgel. Either they use it either they use it in furtherance of trying to associate their political opponents or their the demographics they hate with some kind of quality that they understand to be intrinsically negative, or they are using it to cover up for a lack of policy on their end. For example, whenever gun crimes happen, the right, obviously, they can't blame the economy, they can't blame the crumbling social structure because they're contributing to that. They can't blame the economy because they're contributing to that problem. They can't blame the proliferation of guns because they are part of that problem. They can't blame anything, really, because anything they could blame would violate one of their donors' interests somewhere along the line. So what can they do? What is the one thing they can do? Mental health, mental health, mental health, mental health, mental health. Sorry, bud. You cannot mental health your way out of capitalism. You cannot mental health your way out of late stage capitalism causing complete disintegration of the social fabric. Yes, mental health has always been weaponized. It's why women and black folks were institutionalized at disproportionate numbers. Yep, 100%. That doesn't mean that mental health isn't an important topic that people should consider and care about and talk about, etc. But we need to fundamentally restructure and rethink about the way we talk about it and what the acceptable limits of discourse are, where the conversation is reasonable and you're not calling that person an idiot. Okay? Because right now, we kind of just use that as and this is a multifaceted problem too, because we use it as an insult, as a way to delegitimize people through a way that's meant to look like it's not insulting but is of genuine concern, so it's used to concern troll too. It's something that I think needs to be approached with way more care, and it's a double-edged sword because it's also just used as a way to be mean for something that ultimately you shouldn't. What is the humanistic answer to a real mental health problem? A real mental health problem, that person should get treatment, obviously. They should be able to get treatment. They should be able to get medical care for that. And they probably can't help it. It's probably something to do with the way they were raised, the way they grew up, or some kind of genetic thing. And they certainly should not be demonized for it. They probably can't help it. So what is the like What is the moralist's defense of using this in this manner? I love BBW queens. There's always a chaser or two off in here. I'm always happy to see them. Not even a hot take, lukewarm take. Well, I guess it seems like a hot take to me because it took me a long time to put it into words. It took me a long time to put it into words. I never thought about it before tonight in exactly that way. But yeah, this country has a long tendency, a long history of treating people that are suspected of having mental health issues really horribly, and of using mental health issues as an excuse to treat people horribly. Isn't it funny how that works? Once you create an exclusionary standard, i.e., a standard by which people can be excluded, you also create a hidden incentive to categorize some people into that, even if they don't really deserve to be there. Hot take: if I ever have to go to prison for an extended period, I'll become a pre-op trans. Are you trying to get pre-ed? Is that the strategy there? Are you like trying to be part of a PREA violation? Like, is that the goal? Are you like under the impression that pre-op trans women go to women's prisons? Because a lot of times, even post-op trans women don't go to women's prisons. Sometimes they do. It depends on the state, but not everywhere. Anyway, 100% peebs. Asylums were for people who were mentally disabled or women who did things men didn't like. Asylums were jails for undesirables. Yeah, 100%, Taylor. Yeah. Literally. Just prisons for undesirables. Prisons for whoever it was politically or socially convenient to be locking up that day. I always feel bad. Taylor, can I just say something? I always feel bad when I'm going hard on the Reddit atheist shit. Not that I'm, I say Reddit atheist, but really, we all know that Wikia was my social media of choice. But that's not the point. The point is that sometimes I will be in the middle of a hardcore, like Reddit level atheist rant going off about the ills of Christianity. And whenever you pop in here, I always feel a little bad in those moments because I'm like, yeah, there are definitely good Christians. And I've never, really, I don't think I've ever foundered my arguments on the basis that that the entire religion is spoiled to a man. So I shouldn't feel bad, I guess, but sometimes I do, because I feel like it sucks when people like you have to listen to that. Does that make sense? Like, I wouldn't want to give your sister a rant like one of my Reddit atheist rants. I wouldn't, it would feel inappropriate. She would have to beg me, and even then I would feel bad. But I also, on the other hand, feel like the people who are like genuine believers in the rapture in their lifetimes, like they got to be opposed. I've just got to come up with, and I've been trying to work on it, like trying to make my rhetoric more centered around refuting the idea that conservative politics are in line with biblical morality, because I don't think they are. I think to the extent that the Bible espouses a morality, or at least the New Testament, it's a progressive morality for the most part. Once again, New Testament only. The Old Testament is a depraved book. Now I feel bad. I'm talking all about this, and it's just because I saw a stray comment from Taylor, something about like, sorry, I'm not your target audience. I'm just a Christian cisgender woman. Taylor's so good at the burns. Jonah, that rapture happened. Guess what? You're the ones left behind. Oh, wouldn't that be the biggest twist? What if it came out in like a month that all of the jungle churches of Ethiopia or wherever it is, Eritrea or wherever the fuck it is, all of those jungle churches, right? All of the people surrounding them and that went to them have just disappeared off the face of the planet. And nobody knew because literally all of them went. But they were the only Christians on the planet that were actually Christian anymore. So they were the only ones who went. And now it's just the rest of us all fighting it out. What if we just don't know yet? Because it was such a small sample size. What if the JWs were right, dude? What if it's only 144,000 people? And what if they've already done gone? What if they've already been gone? PSA, if you want to make fun of trans people, I really don't care that much, but you have to be funny and original with it. I keep saying stupid bits. I will ban the next Transformer bit. Thank you, Margot, for your service. I appreciate you a ton with the $10 and with the warning to chat. Because, yeah, listen, if you're going to be a hateful douchebag, we can deal with that. We've got skin thicker than a rhinoceros. You ain't going to hurt our feelings. You're a damn far sight from hurting our feelings. But you do need to be clever and original with it. Reading the same rote fucking comments night after endless night. Do yourself a favor and make a comment worthy of a laugh, please, for me. What in the closeted bottom is you? What indeed? What indeed? Alright, I'm taking this comment off. It's no longer the pinned comment. Unpin. Okay. What's wrong with Christian beliefs? Can you explain? I've got a ton of problems that I take with Christian beliefs. It just depends on where you want to go. I think that the morality espoused by Christianity is flawed, not necessarily because of specific tenets espoused by Christ, but rather because of elements of the back end, I guess. If you read the Bible, it is made very clear that humans are worthless, horrible sacks of shit because we are all descended from, people who, we've all got the weight of original sin on our shoulders, right? And there is a premise in the Bible stemming from this, that human beings are in need of a savior. that we are dirty creatures that have to be saved, and that Jesus died on the cross for our sake. Like all of this shit leads down from this one central axiom, which is what we just talked about. They were not saying productive things. Spanish, anyways. I agree. Women came from a rib. Yeah, if you believe the biblical narrative, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. According to the biblical narrative, human beings are a flawed species that was created perfect, was not created perfect, but was created better than we are now, that fell into temptation, therefore committing an original sin that has been passed down onto all of us throughout the years, that we have to opt in to being saved from, and therefore our souls redeemed, by pledging our lives to a mythical figure of which there are no strong, compelling historical records. I just feel like I need my morals to be predicated on a little more something than that. I'm going to need my morality to have a little bit more at the core of it, other than like, well, I believe this because I was told to by a Jewish zombie 2,000 years ago. I'm not making fun of you if you're a Christian, by the way. I'm not trying to be that way. If you are a good Christian, then you know that there are lots of great things that Jesus said, that he is a worthwhile guru to follow as far as gurus go, but that ultimately forcing that on others is about the most depraved thing you can do, next to the shit that Israel gets up to on a random Tuesday. He wasn't a guru. He literally was a guru. He literally was a guru. You can say he was the son of God, but he was also a guru. I'm sorry. I know he wasn't Indian, but he was a guru. Jesus was woke. Jesus was incredibly woke. He was one of the most woke gurus you can read about. I didn't know that it made Christians so mad to call Jesus a guru. I'm going to start doing this all the time now. I don't even like that word, but I'm going to do it all the freaking time now. Fix your fucking teeth, Tubby. Fuck you. That's mean. It's one thing to say brush my teeth or something like they're dirty. Okay, I got stained up British looking teeth. I get that. But I got fucked up fucking snaggle ass teeth. What's wrong with that? I chew fine. I enunciate mostly okay. I like to think that I got a little bit of that Freddie Mercury thing going on. You know, I obviously don't, but I like to think that maybe the fact that I do have like extra wide teeth there gives me just a little bit more capacity in my voice. Obviously, I don't need to own a mirror because when I stream, the image that is projected back at me is me. Every single German dances to the phrase of the "I was not a Nazi" polka. I had to shell out $1.5K for my teeth. Holy crap, that's a lot. That's a ton of money. I'm not gonna lie. That's a lot of money. US healthcare is so expensive, and it's even more expensive when you get into, well, it's not that it's more expensive, but it's like less accessible when you get to talking about stuff like dental and vision, because those aren't usually covered in a lot of plans. Like a lot of basic healthcare plans you get just cover like hospital stays and doctor's visits and stuff like that. They ain't covering your tooth surgery. They ain't covering your eyeglasses. Now, if you've got a pretty good job, it probably is part of the benefits package that you can opt into. But a lot of people don't opt into it because, they don't feel like they can afford the extra $50 a month or whatever. So they opt out. They're like, no, I'll just deal with it whenever I have to deal with it. And I can't blame a lot of people. Though I will say, whenever I've worked jobs like that, I've always taken advantage of those benefits because I see it as a net benefit just to be able to get that care done. I feel like as long as you're taking advantage of it, it pays for itself. But yeah, like if I didn't need glasses, I probably wouldn't get vision insurance, for example. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. What would be better than all of this, though, is if if we just had a universal healthcare system, because it would be literally cheaper than what we have right now. And that's not a joke. You can watch the stream I did the other day where I did call-ins. One of the dudes I talked to, a dude named Chad, challenged me on this, and I was like, hey, we'll look it up. Last time I looked, I told him, I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a medical journal that did a study on it, and they proved that a universal healthcare system, a fully comprehensive one that covers citizens, non-citizens, and tourists and everybody else, anybody who's in the country when they have a medical issue, that system would cost less than the current U.S. healthcare expenditure currently costs. And he was like, no, I don't believe that. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the case, but we'll go look. We looked it up, and I was able to prove it in real time. It's the Lancet. You can look it up. The Lancet did a study on it. It would be way cheaper. We would all be spending less on healthcare if we would just bring some of that tax money on back home, stop spending so much of it on the military industrial complex, bring these people to heal. These military contractors do not need another $200 billion of our fucking money for no reason other than develop shit that doesn't apparently work nearly as well as we need it to, because Iran keeps successfully striking targets. Like, we can obviously afford to bring some of that money back home because it ain't buying us much, if you ain't noticed. We're spending billions and billions of dollars on our military industrial complex, but look at what it's bought us. Look at how incompetently we've prosecuted this conflict in the Middle East. Look at how many fucking apartment buildings and fucking infrastructure pieces Iran is still able to strike. Look at the fact that they're still able to maintain dominance over the Strait of Hormuz. Look at the fact that we started running out of interceptors on day 4. You kidding me? Why? Where's the justification anymore? It would be one thing if we were still the unstoppable military gods that we've always been made out to be, but we're clearly not that. So there's no longer any excuse for us to just piss away endless amounts of money on stupid bullshit. Planes that don't fly, tanks that won't drive, cars that won't run, coffee mugs that cost $1,500. For what reason? None. Because 20 fucking people on the chain needed to make $1 million extra that year. That's why. Fuck these people. Bring them to heal, bring this money back home, and start spending it on people like you and me. Fuck these people. These military contractors can suck America's collective fucking dick. Kidding me? They can eat shit and rot in hell for all I care. War profiteering sons of bitches. You and Paul have a lot in common. Well, Paul is my Jesus. That's a joke. That's a joke. Well, that would be because Paul is my cult leader, you see. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Who's pretending to have a penis? I mean, I did do but here's the thing, women do it too. Like, this is the universal sign for pissing. Oh my god. Trying to get a win anywhere they can get it. Anywhere they can get it. They don't care where they have to source it from. They don't care how stupid it is. Why is that red? Anyway, they don't care how fucking dumb. They are just looking. They're waiting for that W in chat. And it never freaking happens. Because I'm ineffable. Sorry. I'm incorrigible. Nothing you can do about me. I'm a plague and a menace. Only thing you can do is scroll away. I don't appreciate how you pretended to urinate with a penis on a t-shirt. Dude, did that comment actually happen? Hold on. Did that actually happen? Did that comment really happen? Oh my god, it happened. Screenshot. Screenshot. Okay, yep. Dude, I might legit cut that comment out and put it on a t-shirt. Hashtag trans rights. That's right. Black Butter Crunch knows what's up. You know something I wonder, and maybe if there's any of you guys in chat, you can speak up. Are there any of you guys watching who used to watch Paul's ideologies, whether it was on the Poltergeist or ideology, doesn't matter, but his solo streams or solo with Amelia, you get what I mean. Are any of you guys the ones who used to watch those regularly when he was like doing them every single day that now like watch me that same way? Are there any of you guys out there? Because I know there's some cross section there. Yes. Yep. Me. Yes. Holy shit. Yep. Oh my goodness. That is so fucking cool. Oh my god. That makes me so happy. I'm literally like, I'm going to cry. That makes me so happy. That is so cool. That, I don't know. You know, like, I think you can kind of like judge a creator by their regulars. And you guys are a quality set of regulars to have. That's dope. I'll have to tell Paul about that one of these days. That just made my whole fucking night. Thank you guys. Y'all are great. That is fucking cool. Operation Epic Fury. Operation Epstein Fail, dude. Operation Epstein Fail. It is insane how long this has gone on without like any actual like I'm just kind of like honestly shocked that we haven't done more, because it's not like we can't do more. It's just that everything we could do that would be more would be inadvisable. You know, like sure we could carpet bomb their country and have air dominance and like invade them and shit, but a full-scale invasion like that is going to trigger all kinds of international conflicts. Then like you actually do risk Russia or China getting involved. It's like this big escalation, you know. But I don't know where we got to. I don't know how we got there, but yeah. Oh yeah, because somebody said Operation Epic Fury. Horribly named thing, because it literally just lends itself to Epstein. Literally, Operation Epstein Fail. Oh, Operation Epic Fail. Operation Epstein Fury. Operation fucking Greater Israel. Okay, it doesn't lend itself to that one, but it is. Listen, that's what it is, you know? As Bosch once said, the purpose of a machine is its function, or whatever. What an awesome night it's been. $95 in donos, 56 viewers, but also 56 likes, which indicates retention is good. Who the actual fuck is trans rights? I don't know her. I keep hearing her talked about, but I've never met her. I think she's probably cool, though. Now I'm trapped on the toilet holding a sleeping cat. Oh no. Wait, what happened? Hold on. My cat is so clingy that if he's asleep and I go to the bathroom, he insists I hold him while I go. Aww. Well, okay, so what you gotta do, and I'm telling you, Taylor, as a parent, I've gotten so good at this kind of thing. And what you gotta do is you gotta do a delicate operation. You gotta clean up your downstairs mix-up, obviously, and then flush, and then he'll probably jolt a little, but he'll probably be fine. And then you get up very gingerly, and it's already late, so you don't need to put your pants back on. You're probably not sleeping with any. So you shouldn't have to have, like, hands to do that. Like, I wouldn't think. Or am I just weird like that? I don't know. Anyway, you can do it, but it's going to be difficult. It's a multi-stage operation. It involves carrying it in one hand and doing everything else you have to do with the other. I feel myself feeling like a parent with this one. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You get, yeah. Yeah. You have to very gingerly, you know, if you don't want to wake them up. What actually happened in Nut Homes? I don't know if you're just like trying to be insultive towards me because I'm a trans woman and I talk about it online. I'm not nearly crazy enough to like actually deserve to be housed permanently for mental illness. I'm perfectly functional. That being said, if you're actually asking like what did happen to asylums, Reagan, look into it. I forget what the exact legislation that was passed was, but it basically ended the era of asylums, and in some ways it was kind of an improvement. I guess it was nice to end the ability to it did end one of the ways that people could be like institutionalized merely because someone doesn't like them or because they've got a politically unpopular opinion or whatever. It removed one of the bureaucratic pathways to that, but it also prevented tons of people from being able to have a place that they could be housed and fed and cared for throughout their life, despite having these mental illnesses that make it very difficult for them to live on their own, or sometimes even difficult for them to be taken care of by family. It's obviously not a humanist solution to just let these people die, and it's obviously not a humanist solution to, I don't even want to think about that, but you get them, you know, there's only so many things that could be done besides, so like there's no good fucking thing besides just taking care of people. And there are different ways you can take care of people. But in general, the asylum system did need to go, but it needed to be replaced. It didn't need to just be like, it's kind of like the education system. Oh my God, this is actually a really good metaphor. So right now, Donald Trump is trying to do to the Department of Education what Ronald Reagan did to mental health, basically. It's almost a one-to-one match. The rhetoric in the lead up to getting rid of the asylums was we need to replace these with a rehabilitative mental health model that accommodates long-term patients, but also allows for more people to actually have real, genuine mental health issues taken care of and have an opportunity to go through rehabilitative mental health services. It was basically replace, not gut, not destroy, not dismantle, but replace. What it became was dismantle during the Reagan years. But the rhetoric in the lead up, in the 30 or 40 years that people have been caring about this and talking about it, the rhetoric was all about replacing these horrible institutions with something that was actually scientific. And to some degree that has been done, but they're all private institutions now. Like, there are mental health rehabilitation centers, there are rehabs in general, there are all kinds of places you can go. There are like mental health retreat spas and all this shit, but they're all private. They're all fucking shit you can't do if you're a poor person. Or even if you're a working class person that like has good benefits. You can't go to one of those places. They're fucking, it's $4,000 to stay in one. And that's before you've even factored in the cost of the flight and the cost of the like lodging when you're getting there and the night before you register and the night you're about to fly out and all this other shit. Like, by the time you're done, you're going to spend 10 grand for what like ultimately should just be like a phone call and a month's worth of waiting, and then you just do it. But Trump is trying to do that exact same thing, the Department of Education right now. The rhetoric from people like me, people like Paul Zigo, people like Kyle Kulinski in the last fucking 20 years has been, we need to replace the leadership of the Department of Education and the structure of a lot of different institutions within the Department of Education. We need to start fundamentally restructuring these things towards a direction that actually makes kids intelligent. But now the rhetoric is not, we need to reform the Department of Education. Now the rhetoric is, we need to dismantle. And a lot of people are being swept along in that rhetorical storm. But it's just a fact. What we need is reform or replacement, not destruction. I'm sorry. There must be one collective body that on some level determines what the nation's baseline curriculum, the shit kids have to graduate knowing. There has to be. There just has to be. I'm sorry. Because if there's not, kids in the Deep South are going to be learning that Jesus made the world 6,000 years ago in 10 years. And kids in California will actually be getting like science lessons and shit. It's not good, y'all. Not good. No, national mandates are good, actually, when it comes to education for certain things. I just don't think the standards, like, I think that they're too rigid, too reliant on testing, etc., etc. I've got my criticisms of it, but yeah, ultimately, there should be an outlined list of things that every kid needs to know about the world. You need to know that evolution is a fact of life. You need to know that the Civil War was fought over slavery, and that the idea that it was fought over states' rights is a lost cause myth. You need to know why the Nazis were bad. You need to fucking know why gravity works the way it does. Sorry, they're just things you need to know as a grown-up. Do you support ICE? Hell no, especially because they're increasing wait times in airports pretty significantly because they're not actually doing much to help anything. They're just making the situation worse by making people more tense and nervous and taking up more people's time, adding to already long lines. Do your research and find out who started the school system and why. You will be surprised. Just because it was started by rich-ass corporate elites who wanted to train a competent working class that was just smart enough to run the machines and just stupid enough to accept worse benefits, does not mean that the school system cannot be reformed into something better. And by the way, people will say that, and what you're meant to think when you read something like that is that all of education traces its origins back to the factory towns. That all of education in America, all of education in the West, no less, traces its roots directly back to factory owners and mill owners who wanted to make sure that their workers were smart enough to run all the machines and do the paperwork, but not exactly smart enough to to know how to rise up. And they wanted to make sure that they had the correct quote unquote vision of how they should see the world, but the vision they wanted to instill was not based on science or fundamental reason. That took multiple decades of reform to the school system for that to happen. Nope, at first it was all about America's great, billionaires are great, it's these wonderful billionaire fucking robber barons that built the country, etc., etc. And there's still some of that undercurrent of narrative in American textbooks to this day. Fuck. What were we? What was that? What was the driving thread there? I don't remember. DB, what was your GPA? No, I don't remember. States' rights to do what? Yeah, exactly. That's why the states' rights is just like a lost cause argument. It's a trap. You don't seriously engage in it. All you do is states' rights to do what exactly? Because the vast majority of people at that point will have to be like, well, I'm not saying slavery was right, but what right do you have to tell someone else that they can't do it? People will, to this day, try and make rhetorical justifications for slavery. Personally, all I can think when I hear that kind of thing is, oh, way down south in the land of traders, rattlesnakes and alligators, right away, come away, right away. Where cotton is king and men are chattel, Union men will win the battles right away, come away, right away. We'll all go down to Dixie, hooray, hooray. Each southern boy must understand that he must find his Uncle Sam, hooray, hooray. We'll all go down to Dixie, hooray, hooray. We're marching down to Dixie. Just complaining won't fix the issues. I know that. I do have ideas for solutions. They're just less interesting to talk about than the problems. That's really the problem, by the way. That's one. And once again, I know you're going to hate this because it's just more complaints. I guess that's how you're going to look at it. But I think it's an interesting topic prompt. Let me read your comment again. So yeah. So we live in a society now where, a culture really, where people, it's way more fun to discuss the problem, and it's way easier to discuss the problem because there's so many different angles on it, so many different ways to see it. It's very easy to discuss a problem, but it's become incredibly difficult to imagine solutions. And I think that this has been engineered. I think that it's been a concerted effort on the part of the ruling class to convince us that there are no solutions, that there is nothing we can do, that we are consigned to late-stage capitalism the way a cat might be consigned to drowning after falling in a deep well. That's what they want us to believe. They want us to believe we are consigned to this fate. And as a result, there is a lot more profitability and algorithmic weight and speed and whatever you want to call it to be obtained talking about the issues, complaining effectively, yeah, but talking about the issues, bitching about it, getting other people to understand, than there is in talking about the solutions. If I was sitting here talking about my eco-green futurist utopia and utopian-ass socialist ideas for how we can transform this country and aim us towards some kind of anarcho-syndicalist ideal, we would have 20 people listening, and they would almost all of them be doing something else. Not saying that's wrong, but none of them would be like participating in the chat. It would be me and two other people in the chat and 20 people listening to me like sit here and paint a pretty picture of a future that might exist in some potential world, maybe. So I didn't make it that way, but I do agree that it sucks that it's that way, and I do think we need to talk about solutions, which is why I do sometimes. So you haven't thought about it at all? It's easier to complain than provide solutions, just like our healthcare system? No, it's plenty easy to provide solutions too. I'm just saying that it's easier to, like, when you're streaming, for example, like I just pretty much illustrated it. I don't know if you stopped listening, but if I was sitting here talking about the solutions, 20 people listening. Sitting here talking about the problems and intersperse a solution every now and again. Now we got 73 people watching. You get the idea? Identify as an intelligent person with moral values? I do, actually. How did you know? My boss told me to bring a solution to a problem rather than complain about it. Yeah, that's because your boss is trying to make you a good worker bee, not because it's actually good advice. It's a very corpo thing to say to somebody. It sounds like corpo advice. Don't complain about a problem until you've got a solution. Sounds like Jordan Peterson as well. Clean your room, bucko. Make sure your home is in perfect order before you go about the work of changing the world. When in reality, Martin Luther King was a plagiarist and a womanizer, still managed to change the world in a pretty fundamental and progressive and awesome way. Let's see here. Who's some other dudes? Oh, Lyndon B. Johnson. Literally liked to show his dick to people. Was all fucking touchy with people. Real assertive. Brash. Corrupt as a fucking dog. Worse than a dog. More corrupt than any dog's ever been. Corrupt as a fucking fox. But also passed the Fair Housing Act. Did quite a few other based things. Nixon. Fucking asshole. Started the war on drugs. Also created the FDA, the EPA, or maybe not the FDA, but I know he created the EPA, the program that would go on to become SNAP, and or was it the FDA? I think there's like two different alphabet agencies that were formed under Nixon's administration. There's been progress under a number of different decades throughout the different years. I don't remember what point I was originally driving at, but yeah. We used to have mixed bags for president. Now we've just got shit bags. From Barack Obama to Trump and then to Biden and then back to Trump, just shit bag after shit bag after shit bag. Did make the EPA and probably the DEA. Yeah, it would not shock me if the DEA also traces back directly to Nixon's administration. Like I said, he started the war on drugs. So, oh, I remember the point I was driving at. So yeah, like there are complicated figures all throughout history who have changed things profoundly without getting everything in order first, without knowing everything first. Happened all the time. So when someone says something that's so structurally similar to that, like, oh, well, why are you talking about this if you don't know everything there is to know about it? Or why are you complaining about this? You shouldn't complain unless you are ready with a solution. Why? Like, why though? Like, I agree there's such a thing as a useless complaint that functionally does nothing, but there's a difference between some complaints are just kind of useless to levy, or whatever, or like, well, we can't do nothing about it, and don't complain at all. Teddy, Abe, FDR, those are the good ones, and they have major flaws. Yeah, let's just go over them. Yeah, so Teddy Roosevelt invaded Panama. Huge warmonger. Teddy Roosevelt wanted to invade everybody. He was like almost Trumpian in that way. But he was obviously a way better dude than Trump. I'm not trying to compare them in every way. I'm just saying, like, Teddy Roosevelt was a warmonger. FDR was a fucking cripple. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. That's not his flaw. No, the flaw with FDR was that he interned the Japanese, obviously, as if they were some national enemy because they'd been born with slightly yellow skin. I'm gonna get canceled, dude. I'm clip chimping too bad tonight. I gotta stop. Anyway, no, yeah. Obviously FDR's got his fatal flaws as well. And then you've got Abe Lincoln, who was not actually like Abe Lincoln was a white supremacist on some level. He was not like a believer in the idea that black and white people were like completely equal to one another, which may just be him being a product of his time or may represent some deeper level of racism there. But he was a very ardent supporter of abolition. He was an abolitionist. And there were plenty of people who were like that, who were like, well, whatever. I mean, we don't have to. I mean, it's really like racist, like horrible shit. And they would make arguments like, well, we don't have to like look at ourselves as equal to them to treat them with the grace that God has imbued us with. Shit like that, you know? Really weird fucking arguments to look at nowadays. What was FDR's disability? Don't use so many fucking question marks in my chat, please. He had polio. Secular conservative parties are making gains everywhere because everywhere is beholden to the same capital interests. Yeah, literally. Late stage capitalism is real. The globalization of the economy is real. And the billionaires are shoring up their interests right now, effectively. They are working on making this country and every other country besides totally subservient to their interests to the degree to where they cannot be opposed and where they can allow things to play out as they will. And they want things to go further to the right because that will position them better. Further to the right is more in the billionaire's interest. It's literally definitionally what it means. At the ultimate end of the right wing, you've got fascism, which Mussolini described as Mussolini once said, fascism should more aptly be termed corporatism because it is the merger of corporate and state power. And, you know, I feel like you can't listen to fascists on much, but when they're self-described fascists talking about their self-described ideology, like, it is the best thing to use to reference what, like, the core, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? The framework of the philosophy. Or corporatism is state power mostly? Nope, it's not. It's billionaires and rich people in general getting together, colluding to make things harder for working class people. Simple as that. They yes, they use state power as one of the mechanisms by which they like empower themselves to rule in that manner, but it's a merger. It's a more competitive relationship in other places and a more cooperative relationship in others. You know what corporatism is? I'm not interested in your special little particular definition of this weird, like, fucking, niche political philosophy. Sorry, not interested. Anyway, we gotta get off here soon, y'all. It's way late. It's fucking like 2 in the morning or something. Yeah, it's literally 2 in the morning. And I've been streaming for 2 hours, so I'm gonna plug one last time. The donation button, super chat is down there. I'll probably stay for like 2 or 3 more minutes. Then we're gonna get out of here. I will play you guys some songs, but I will play those tomorrow. We will do a music stream. I feel like I'm gonna feel like doing it tomorrow, but it's a bit late tonight. If you feel like donating, please feel free. You can use the super chat button or Cash App, which is down below. I prefer Cash App actually because that doesn't obviously no fee associated with that, and I can use it instantly. So that's great if you can do that. If not, I'll take a few more questions from the chat, and then we're probably gonna get out of here. I can't even be I can't even be mad. Buddy is playing the YouTube algorithm and probably makes more money than I do at my 9 to 5. No, I probably do not. I don't make that much money. You have to be one of the higher echelon streamers to be making like, that kind of money. I make probably what like a part-time McDonald's worker makes, I would say, honestly. It's not much, but because I don't drive to work, I don't have that many expenses. I'm not ever going out to eat fast food. I'm way more conservative about my grocery trips and everything else. I live in a unique situation where I don't have a mortgage or rent, you know. Thank God for being born into a family that owned 2 acres out in the country, I guess. $1.99 from Vinny Cresta. Hey, Jesus loves you. Well, hey, thank you for the $1.99. I appreciate that. And I'm sure he does. He seems like a pretty loving gentleman. This is what happens if you're nice to me. This is a freak show living with mommy and daddy. Ooh, somebody just told on themselves. Are you sure your mom lets you be on the Wi-Fi this late at night? I feel like you probably got a curfew. So are most young people? Not even most young people. You realize that the average like American under 35 lives with their parents? Like just the average American under 35 at this point in the economy right now, in this country right now, the average American under 35 does not live on their own. Fucking crazy. It's economic devastation. Average European stays forever with fam. Yeah, it's really only seen weird as a thing in America. It's really it's literally only a thing you'll get made fun of regularly for here in the United States. Because here in the US, we've got this obsession with the nuclear family, which is mom and dad, no same sex bullshit or whatever, Oh my God. And it's this stupid ass 1950s idealized way of living that is not sustainable, that discourages communities from being stronger, that discourages families from forming strong generational bonds. Now, there are families that have fought against this and that have done things in their history that have led them to not be so this way. I'm very lucky to have grown up in a family like that, but that tendency radiates throughout our entire culture. And as a result, pretty much the only situation where you can live with your parents and it be seen as acceptable is if your parents are like ancient and you're taking care of them in their old age. But even then, people make fun of you for it. Ultimately, living with your parents does not fucking matter as long as you are contributing equilaterally to the expenses, you know? Like, if you're paying your bills, like whatever personal bills you have, and, like, you know, you're part of whatever the overall expenses are. If it's you and just them, then a third, right? As long as you're fucking doing that, then, like, that's the fundamentals of being housemates. That's just you know, a relationship that makes everybody's life a little cheaper, usually. So as long as you're doing that, then, like, I don't see where there could be a moral failing there. I think what is a problem is, like, living off of your parents, like, literally just, like, relying on them for literally everything. You're not paying any bills. You're not, like, much less your own bills. You're not helping them pay any bills. You're just fucking nothing. That's pretty reprehensible. I don't know how actually common that is, though. Like, people talk about needs. It's actually kind of rare to run into, like, a true need. Like, every quote-unquote need I ever met had, like, a side hustle. Not, it was obviously their main hustle, but it was, like, the kind of thing you would have looked at as a side hustle if you were, like, an employed person. What's your job? What do you do for a living? These streams. So far, I've been streaming for 2 hours and 11 minutes. I made $98.30. I appreciate you guys a ton for that. You believe that abortion is good? I mean, I think it's a morally neutral act. I think it is neither evil nor good. I think it's painful and difficult for the people that have to go through with it, and should be protected as a medical procedure that people have access to. People's lives depend on it. Abortions don't stop because you outlaw them. They just go underground, take more lives. Because now you're not just destroying some fetus or embryo, now you're destroying that and the would-be mother. Ultimately, anti-abortion policies are just anti-woman policies. They're methods of controlling women. Pregnancy has been used by the patriarchy as a method of maintaining control over women for as long as there's been a patriarchal order to society. If you claim yourself as a black person, are you? And if you claim yourself as a woman, are you? Those are two very different things. Race is way more comparable to sex than it is to gender. Gender is more like nationality. You can change nationality, there's just steps you have to take. And if you go through those steps, then eventually you will look and sound and feel more like the end route goal than the place you started out at first. Now, am I talking about gender transition or moving countries and changing citizenships? Islam's patriarchal, but I bet you won't say shit about that. Nope, I don't particularly like Islam either. You know? I mean, I think Islam is not really like the big problem right now. Hardly the greater evil, but yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan. Yeah, what a fucking miracle it is. I know. Alert the presses, everybody. Holy shit. There's a white leftist out there that doesn't think that Muslims should get bombed to death forever, but also doesn't particularly like Islam. Oh my god, holy shit. What? You guys act like this is some untenable position, like it's like I'm the only motherfucker that held this. I'm not even the first person to make this argument. Let me put you on to the motherfucker who made me see it this way. TJ Kirk, aka the Amazing Atheist. Look up TJ Kirk Muslims, and you can find videos where, yeah, he's talking all kinds of shit about Islam, but you can also find all kinds of videos of him talking about how, like, just because Islam as a religion is fucked up doesn't mean there's anything wrong with Muslims. Like, that's like individual merits and shit. Like, what? You can decry Islam as a religion and the mullahs without decrying the idea of Muslims being allowed to live. What do you think happens after death? Nothing. I mean, you rot after a while if you're not embalmed. I guess your body gets burned if you're getting burned. You're defending terrorism proves my point. Iran is not a terrorist state, and the United States is the great Satan. With that being said, thank you guys for a great stream. I will talk to you guys later. I guess I'll stay on for one more minute, though, because I just got a donation. Pink Fur, $9.99. Thank you so much. Taking us over the $100 fucking banner. Thank you, Pink Fur. Hey, Phoebe, spitting facts late at night still? Hell yeah. About to get off here, but I caught the donation before I got off here, so that's good. I guess I'll do one last plug. If you guys are sitting around and if you've enjoyed the stream and you've got a little bit of money, if I can burn a hole in your pocket and you feel like impelled to or you want to help a young fucking just getting started trans girl creator make it big, you can help me do so by sharing the stream, liking the stream, donating either via Super Chat, Cash App, or Super Thanks, or joining the membership, which gives you access to an extensive backlog of background streams that once they're done, once they're uploaded, you can watch them in the background with your screen turned off and everything. Great to listen to while you go to sleep at night and stuff like that. So that's a good thing to join. All of those are available to you. I think that's all we really have to cover. I'm so tired and sleepy, guys. It's been a long day. I'm kind of hungry. I kind of want to get to bed. So I think we're probably going to be getting out of here, you know? Um, anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. I will see you guys later. Florida must be destroyed.